Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Mallory, on April 30th, the Council on Environmental Quality finalized its revisions to the NEPA regulations, codifying climate change and environmental justice principles for NEPA purposes, including a definition of environmental justice. Quote, environmental justice, according to the CEQ, means just treatment and meaningful involvement of all people, regardless of income, race, color, national origin, tribal affiliation, or disability in agency decision-making and other federal activities that affect human health and the environment, so that people are, one, fully protected from disproportionate and adverse human health and environmental effects, including risks and hazards, including those related to climate change, the cumulative impacts of environmental and other burdens, and the legacy of racism or other structural or systemic barriers. And two, have equitable access to healthy, sustainable, and resilient environment in which to live, play, work, learn, grow, worship, and engage in cultural subsistence practices. The very executive order coming from President Biden that you're using to expand the NEPA process creates greater reliance on foreign countries with hardly any environmental or even child labor laws. Now, could you please explain to me, where is the environmental justice in children in the Congo mining cobalt and other minerals for EV batteries when this administration is doing everything it can to ban mining in the United States?
Thank you, Congressman, for that question. I think that we are actually doing everything that we can to make mining possible in the United States in places where it's appropriate.
Actually, you just came out, the BLM just came out with an order yesterday related to Wyoming that essentially bans mining in the northern part of the state, so that's not accurate. Previous to the development of this definition, what laws prevented any person, regardless of race, color, national origin, or tribal affiliation, from participating in the public processes such as NEPA?
The issue that we're addressing, Congressman, is that despite laws that would make it possible that, in fact, these things weren't happening. So the executive order...
So my question is were there any laws that prevented these various groups from being able to participate in the process? Very simple question. Are you aware of any laws prior to your definition that prevented people that you have identified from being able to participate in the process?
What I'm saying, Congressman, is that the laws were not the problem. The problem is the practice.
So there weren't any laws. In fact, the answer is that under the law, all people, regardless of race, color, national origin, or tribal affiliation, are entitled to and encouraged to participate in public processes impacting our natural resources and our federal lands, aren't they?
They are, but that's not the reality.
So we're seeing federal agents. So can you give me an example?
Oh, many examples, yeah. I mean, I think the problem is that when you actually set up a permitting or a engagement process that doesn't take into account that you're in a tribal ritual season where people can't get there or Alaska natives can't arrive, those are examples of where you're not giving thoughtfulness to...
But can you give me a specific example of where that's occurred?
I can't today, but we certainly provide that.
We're seeing federal agencies issue regulations that cripple the communities they are supposed to be protecting. As Wyoming's sole representative, I can attest to the fact that the federal government is creating greater economic uncertainty through its radical environmental agenda for all races, for all genders, for all people. We're seeing attacks on states with large amounts of federal land as tightening restrictions impact their ability to generate revenue for essential services. Director Mallory, last June, you highlighted in your testimony that the Biden administration provided more than $1 billion to, quote, make sure that agencies have the environmental review and permitting experts they need. While I agree with you that personnel can be a serious cause for delays, it isn't the main problem. I've seen permit modifications in my district essentially go through the NEPA process 3 or 4 times and get hung up on a single solicitor's review. Do you agree that duplication within NEPA is a significant roadblock in the permitting process?
Thank you, Congressman, for that. We have been focused on making sure that the processes are not duplicative. That is the purpose.
But they are. So what are you doing to make to take care of and address the duplication that we see basically on a daily basis?
The new rules that we just released actually focus on making sure that we align the processes across state and local governments.
Would you agree, Chairman Mallory, that low-income communities are disproportionately impacted by policies that raise energy prices?
Congressman, yeah, that is an issue that the administration has been very focused on.
Thank you. I yield back.